do it in front of the horse? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we better.
Yep. You have to stand in front of the horse. No, that's where you're gonna stand in front of the horse. If you guys stand right here, we can get the horse. If you all come right here. You can get behind him where he can pick you.
Come on, come on, come on. Get in.
You on the that side?
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't need us.
Come on. All right.
They want you too.
Yeah.
Do you want that phone in your picture?
No.
Sit down. Yes, we want you in the picture.
You
Okay.
can do that later.
Okay.
Okay, bring together. Thanks, guys. Come on, baby girl.
Where we go?
Family photo.
Oh, no.
Kevin Farrell.
Ở đó gì? Ở đó.
Kevin ở chỗ Clearwater Square đó.
À. Sao trả tiền mau vậy?
It's really hard.
Vẫn phải trở lại mà.
Nice day. Free.
Alrighty guys, I'm just gonna do another roll call for my 930s. If I don't call your name, that means I already came around and checked you in. John B, party 2. John Baggett, party 2. What about Donna Rogers, party 1? Donna. Sheila Ivy, party 1. Ron, party 2. Ron L. Susan Fox, party 4. And I've got my Tammy, party 4. And what about Tamika Moore, party 2?
Đi đó.
Party 2.
Đi hả?
Còn đây
Yeah.
Oh, damn. Come on, let's go.
Which one you want, baby?
Let's see you one.
I'll come back for more.
Fans and Rooster.
See, they like it so much they keep coming in.
Hens and Rooster. A little farm, man.
It smells hot.
We have two 9:30 carriages going out. So if you're not on this one, don't worry. You'll be on the one coming in right behind it. You're on vacation, so you're not allowed to stress. We do see 4 to a row, so when you get in, you want to slide all the way down. And these running boards are extra leg space, so you're welcome to throw your legs out on these running boards as well. Can I start with my Susan Fox Party 4?
I'm gonna go on the other side.
No, I can't. You sure? What is that?
Can I get my Jack Thompson Party of 3?
Where's he gonna go?
What over there?
Let me go in. Let me go in.
Oh, is that
No, you in there. You're scary.
No.
Yeah, they had.
Got it?
Which one is one and you want to throw it away?
Yeah, I'm just gonna do this.
Watch that. Why don't you just put your backpack on the other side? You want me to do it?
Yeah.
This is fun. Look at me. No, I said it was something.
You always have trouble.
Right. Give it to her.
Yeah, and you know what the thing is?
You don't mind it.
Let's have.
Lee, you have to hold on to Daddy.
Ceiling fan? I don't have my seatbelt. Yeah, I don't either.
Dad, my cup doesn't fit the holder. Hang on, That's going to be my complaint for the day.
Yes. Yes.
Barely. You know I'm giving you a hard time, right?
No, they're moving it. They're just putting another couple.
Oh, because they have that where those are the wheels.
Look at the horses in there. Look at the horses.
Alrighty guys, if you're on the edges, you can sit all the way to the edge. You're not gonna fall off and it's not gonna happen.
You got ceiling fan?
Okay? The extension cords don't reach quite that far. If you're in that end seat, as she said, that big long black running board is extra foot space, so it can make a big difference in your quality of life. Other than that, the rules are pretty simple. Don't stand up. Don't jump off. I am wearing a body camera. If you'd like me to turn it off, I'm more than happy to do so. Doesn't really have anything to do with you. At this point, it's defensive driving, for the most part. We're going to do the introductions out back.
You still have to hold on, okay? Even they say it's not that.
Fall off. You fall off, but we leave you here.
Alrighty guys, as we head out back, this is the four-legged grapefruit. Oh ladies. So this is where the animals wait in between tours. They've got the fans, the shade, the water buckets. Give us a little bit of time and they'll turn the misters on once they clean the floors. So basically they get a better place to wait than you do. That's how this works. O'Malley, Tom, Jerry, Lilo, Boppy, Yogi, Boo Boo. Over there on your left-hand side. Boo Boo.
I don't want to ride with Boo Boo.
Easy. Good girls. So up in front of us, on the left is Katie May. She is 7 years old.
Wow.
And her partner in crime is Ella Sue. And Ella Sue is 7. So these girls started this year. They've been here since about January. They weigh in at actually around 1,600 pounds apiece. They're draft horse crosses.
Wow.
So bigger than a riding horse and smaller than a draft horse. Then put it together, they actually weigh like 3,170. So all of our competitors use single draft horses. Oh, baby girls. So the big horses average 2,000 pounds apiece. A couple hundred pounds on either side. The city says the animals are allowed to pull 3 times their own weight. I don't care what y'all have for breakfast, you don't weigh 9,600 pounds. Not gonna happen, as a matter of fact. I don't know why there's a semi on this road, so we're gonna let him go first.
Sure.
Like that's not a thing. Whatsoever. Easy.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we sure don't want to rock him up.
Yeah, yeah. Every time I drive this downtown, I'm glad I don't drive that. At least I bend in the middle, kind of thing. So my name is Jenny. I started driving carriages in 1987. So I
Wow.
was obviously 2 years old
Yeah.
at that point in time. Good morning. Things have changed. So we're very strictly regulated these days. Animals are allowed to pull 3 times their own weight, and they're allowed to pull 8 hours a day. It is a long time since I've seen a horse do actual 8 tours. It's almost impossible. With mandated break times, water times, and everything else, 5 is average at this point. We do just have to come down and check in with the city, though, because carriage drivers are untrustworthy. So we're going to check in. They're going to record us all. You'll be thrilled to know the city says you all weigh 195.7 pounds apiece. Yeah. So some of you are thrilled. The other half are upset. But apparently it's what we use on airplanes. Is the idea. But they say even the kids weigh that. Yeah. They also regulate our routes. And so, oh, baby girls, as we round the corner, there's a little wooden box up there. In it is a bingo ball machine. In that are 28 colored ping pong balls. It's going to pop up a colored ball, and that is what determines where we go. So basically, it is the most unscientific system ever developed to regulate an entire industry. And it is the one that we use. Sorry, I decided to be nice and let the bus go at the last minute. Oh no, dude, really?
Oh.
Watch this, Mr.
Wow.
Wow.
She
Now,
just
I
left.
ride an Uber, but I will tell you as a driver, that drives me crazy. Right there.
Sure
Yeah.
would.
It's like, just can't stop in the middle of the road. There's all these places to pull over.
Whoa, Rocky. You're a bad driver.
Hello, sir. I am on carriage 143 with Katie, May, and Ella Sue. And I have 11 and 4. So this is GPS tracking because we are not Amish people. And I already told you we're untrustworthy, right? Yeah. You've been here before. This just started in like April. Wow. Yeah. There are days I'm just like, maybe it's time to retire. I don't know. My favorite is in May. One of our drivers lost the GPS tracker, so the city charged him $300.
Oh,
well,
no.
please contemplate the phrase, lost the GPS tracker.
Oh, boy.
How do you lose that? Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Come on, baby girl. So, we are actually going to start our tour all the way back in 1660. Y'all remember 1660, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Really good year. King Charles II ascends the throne of England. So he's actually taking over from Oliver Cromwell and the Puritans. they're basically those no drinking, no dancing, no smiling people that you remember from history class.
True.
Those are the people who close libraries because libraries are too exciting. So Charles II becomes known as the Merry Monarch. He likes drinking and dancing and ladies in libraries. He receives financial and political support from 8 families in Barbados. 3 years later, he pays them back by granting them Carolina, free and clear to do with as they see fit. So basically, we're privately owned for the first 57 years. From a legal standpoint, we're a colony of a colony at that point in time. But that nice Barbadian tie explains that whole pastel New Orleans-y look kind of thing. Their charter said they owned everything from the North Carolina-Virginia border, what is now 20 miles south of Daytona Beach, and from the Atlantic Ocean all points west. Draw that on a map in your head, because I get the bottom half of North America. That's how that works. It is good to be king, so you can give away lots of stuff you don't even own, apparently. So settled by the Spanish, claimed by the French, had a couple million Indians in it at that point. Nope, deputy lady.
Oh, past the
Good
hotel.
girl.
Yeah.
So our first settlers actually sailed into the harbor in 1670. They are not the tired, they are not the poor, and they are not the hungry. We are the younger sons of Caribbean plantation owners who will never inherit. It's basically who we are. It turns out that what grows in the Caribbean won't grow here. They grow sugar. And sugar became molasses, and molasses became rum, and they became some of the wealthiest people on the planet. Sugar didn't grow here, coffee didn't grow here, and cocoa didn't grow here. Can y'all imagine a world without sugar, coffee, or chocolate? Because it's like 9:30 in the morning and I've already had 2 of the 3. And so they brought Grandpa's money, they brought West African slave labor, and it turns out what grows in West Africa grows here. So rice, okra, peanuts, sesame seeds, and sweet potatoes. We're nothing but marshland for 60 miles inland. Initially, they thought they'd inherited the largest malarial swamp on the planet, and it turns out to be the perfect habitat to grow rice. So from Wilmington, North Carolina, all through South Carolina and down into Georgia. We're up to 100 miles inland. There you go, baby girl. Oh, cute puppy on the left. Just so y'all know, I will be pointing out all puppies. That's like a thing with me. Okay? And I'll try not to randomly yell squirrel. But I have a job where you can do that. So the original settlement was actually about 4 miles up the Ashley River. They thought they were hiding. It turns out somebody should have told them about 95-degree temperatures and 80% humidity. So they're right back out here by 1680. And they chose the 62 acres, oh girl, of highest, driest ground they could find. And you're there. I didn't do my where you're from's, but y'all, you're 10 feet above sea level right now. And that's a big deal on this peninsula. So the intersection at the market's like 2.5 feet above sea level. So that is actually a natural waterway. It's entirely fill, and they're gonna use it as their northern moat. They'll dig a moat down the far side of Meeting Street. Water Street was at one point called Vandross Creek, and then the harbor on the 4th side. So by 1700, they've got 4 walls, a moat, and a drawbridge surrounding this little city. And if you are a Jeopardy person, what are Charleston, Quebec City, and St. Augustine? And it's already been a Jeopardy final answer. Is how that goes. Pretty easy. One's Spanish, one's French, and one's English, which makes it pretty nice to remember. If you want extra points, Quebec still has walls. Right there. None of the original housing survives. You know, early cities burn down a lot. You cook over an open flame, you heat over an open flame, it just all means a light kind of thing. So mostly 1830s, 40s, 50s. We have no native stone, so that would have helped. But we're really good at brick and wood instead. We have no native stone and no quarryable metals for about 100 miles in any direction. So locally made brick, and then lime, sand, and cement smeared over the face of it to give it the illusion of stone. They were kind of disappointed. I mean, poor people in England live in stone buildings kind of thing, and the Caribbean even has natural stone. The nice thing that turns out about stucco is you can dye it. You can add ochre, umber, sienna, cinnabar, come out with a colored coating for your building that doesn't have to be repainted every year. And so you kind of further that nice little Caribbean feel right there. If nothing else, the lighter colors reflect the sunlight and hopefully keep that brick from heating up. You're going to find out that it's hot is pretty much the answer to 80% of the questions in Charleston history. The other 20% is going to be they had money. So that's like my whole tour right there. It's hot, they had money. Boils all down to that. Now, not everything we live in starts off to be a house. So that nice rounded entrance is a wagon entrance. You're backing in wagons to load and unload, or you're trying to get
Gas
80
lights.
acres of
Gas
door.
light. Gas light right there. Gas lamp.
Good girl.
They still got gas lamp.
Little 30
Gas
and a
lamp.
half is going to start off as cooking and laundry. On the bottom floor, slaves or servants over the top, business on the bottom floor, and the family lives upstairs. So that's pretty common. You don't really want to live on the bottom floors of houses. In the 1700s, pretty much everything's dirt.
That's
Your neighbors have goats and chickens and pigs. Everybody's got an outhouse or a chamber pot. Today, I think in most cities, you would tell people that if you got to walk up like 6 flights of stairs, you're not in the good section. I would tell you want to walk up 6 flights of stairs. Okay? You want to get away from the ooey gooey. Poor people live on the bottom. Better breeze on the top. They don't actually start working streets regularly till the early 1800s. And even at that, they didn't put cement in between the brick. They used dirt. You ever camp down a patio?
Let's
Something
see,
like
gas
that?
lamp.
By the
Gas lamp.
1850s, we're starting to cement or mortar in between the brick. And all of a sudden, we have a giant
See the gas lamp,
drainage
Lee?
problem. Because the city wasn't designed for that. So in the 1850s, they dug tunnels under Meeting Street, King Street, Queen Street, and Tradd Street to try and get the excess water out. So that flooding problem we've had for the last 125, 30 years.
Ah, beautiful down there.
Oh,
Wow.
oh, baby girl. So
That's
cobblestones, different but not. They're obviously a natural stone street. A cobblestone is generally a stone that came over as ballast on a ship. When we're in an age of sailing ships, if you don't have enough weight in the bottom of your boat tips over. So it would actually have been cheaper for you to import a carriage from France than to bring over a fine set of china from England, because the carriage weighed so much it helped weigh down the bottom of the boat. So it's actually cheaper to ship heavier items, which is weird by our standards. How about this? If you chop peaches up really pretty and you lay them in a nice line and you put on butter and sugar in a crust, you've made a pie. If you just go out into your field and you cut up a bunch of fruit, throw it in a pie, stir it all up, put it in the oven, you made a cobbler. All right? They cobbled together a street.
True.
Is what they did. And the idea is Katie and Ellison can pull 5,000 pounds and the wheels don't sink in the dirt. There you go. Today, we get all these people who tell us that the horses are not supposed to be walking on asphalt streets. Once we go to brick, the next step in the 1880s is asphalt, because it's considered better on the horse's feet or the stone. I recommend cobblestones for people with rental cars, okay? That's now. There we go, baby girls. Anything exciting going on out there?
See gas lamp, Lee? Gas lamp. Right, the lamp up there. See the light?
This time of year, we
Gas.
aim for the big trees.
Gas burner.
Those are live oak. So Quercus virginiana. The oak trees are green year round, hence the term live oak. Good girl. So we're going to come up here and hang a right-hand turn. Now, I don't know if y'all noticed that Market Street had a market. Church Street has a church. Bay Street borders along the bay. They originally called the street you're on Union Street for the Union of Scotland and England, but after the Civil War, somebody got upset that Union Street was running through the middle of the city. So State Street, it is. This is Broad Street. You know, it's a broad street. Like, I feel we get points for not calling it Main Street, kind of thing. So walk, Katie Meg. Walk, Ellison. Come on, baby girl. Ella Sue takes this like she doesn't have a partner and she has to do it all by herself. So the whole point is getting her to calm down. I would term this the commercial district. So if you need a bank, a lawyer, or a real estate agent, it's the 21st century. We can add in bars and restaurants and a couple art galleries as well. But the waterfront would have been industrial, commercial, shipping, and warehousing. And if you wanted fancy tea and silk dresses, you'd still have to go another couple blocks inland to King Street. Oh, baby girls.
Look at the tree. Look at the leaf.
Now, the
Look
big
at that
white
tree.
church
Beautiful.
steeple is St. Michael's. So 1752. They're pretty much the big white steeple you see from everywhere. They're also the oldest surviving church building in the city. Right now listed as independent Episcopalians. So we'll throw in modern history. And about 7 years ago, the Episcopal Diocese of South Carolina split in half. And the majority of the churches south of Columbia are no longer affiliated with the national church. They are independents or they become Anglicans. So there's over conservative issues at that point over women ministers, with the locals taking the conservative stance. So the state Supreme Court ruled that they can use the term Episcopalian whether or not they are affiliated with the national church. So that's not an issue. But if you like watching legal battles, wait for the one where they do bank accounts and buildings, because I am interested to see how that's going to turn out. What's going to save a city like Charleston is this congregation was actually formed in 1710, which means they predate the formation of the current diocese. So if they don't have any legal papers that say they ever signed over bank accounts and buildings, historically, the minister owns the building. So when you hire a minister, you better trust that guy. Churches aren't tax exempt until like the Great Depression, until we get an IRS kind of thing. They have a business side and a spiritual side. And so most of these guys predate that, so we'll see.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah. Oldest working tower clock in the country. Now their graveyard is actually 1680, so if you are a graveyard cemetery tombstone person, that's where you want to go. The first church on that lot was actually St. Philip's. And so St. Philip's is now down on your right. They split in 1710. So we're going to come up underneath those guys before we're done.
Beautiful church building.
Good girl. Walk. Walk. I just like Broad Street because we don't build like this anymore. Like every building's different.
Yeah, completely.
Now the big main intersection in front of us, most people call the Four Corners of Law. Thank you, Robert Ripley of Ripley's, believe it or not. And it's comprised of the church, the post office, the state courthouse, and city hall, which gives you federal, state, local, and God's law all at the same place, all at the same time. And it is the only four corners in the United States that actually ever happens.
Wow.
Now, originally, this lot was the market when they opened the city. And so this would have been where you started. But unfortunately, it caught fire in 1788, so that's what moves it to its current location. This is the only place in the city I can actually date the oak
Beautiful
trees.
park.
So the oak trees were planted in 1881, because that's when it officially becomes a city park. What serves as City Hall started off as a bank building in 1801, and then that bank went bankrupt. Somewhere there is a joke in the fact City Hall sits in a bankrupt bank. I just don't know how to work that.
The one here tonight.
Yeah.
What is it?
Broad Street.
So you are here on a weekday. These are public buildings. So generally, as long as you're willing to work through the metal detectors kind of thing, it is 2019. But the official city art gallery is in the council chambers upstairs. It's got a wonderful metal ceiling. But it is where the city keeps all of their original portraits. The portrait of George Washington, John C. Calhoun, Lafayette, big dignitaries, and they hang upstairs. Look at the air bubbles in that second window. I always recommend you visit the churches. Come on, baby girls. As long as those graveyard gates are open or the doors are unlocked, you are more than welcome to go inside and look around. we actually see about 5 million visitors a year. So I feel like if they don't want you in there, it should be painfully obvious at this point. Two signers of the U.S. Constitution buried in their graveyard. George Washington worshipped here. Robert E. Lee. 1905, they had Louis C. Tiffany repaint their chancel.
Huh?
It really is worth the
No
trip back.
history.
So they snuck in a new building in 1993. So that's the new federal courthouse sitting in the back there. They actually did a pretty good job of matching it to the post office.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have like
Very
high-end
nice.
security. Don't try to get in that way. It's the only place where I've ever been asked by an armed guard to keep moving. I don't remember what the court case was, but we were going down that side of the street, and I pulled over to let traffic by, and like 4 guys in black suits went, "Keep moving."
Keep moving.
And I went, "I'm letting traffic by." He goes, "I'll stop them." I was like, "Okay." Thank you, Mr. Homeland Security. I'll do that. So flying the state flag on our left-hand side, this big white Holland building is South Carolina Society.
Wow,
They're
that's
building
beautiful.
1904, great wrought iron lampstands.
Beautiful.
By the way,
That's
dumpsters,
nice.
no problem.
Gas lamp.
It's business and social networking, guys. In this case, you originally had to be French. They later would allow the Scots as well. Yeah. But most of you gentlemen would have belonged to 3 or 4 such organizations. Religion, country of origin, business, and then, just like people you liked. But who else builds schools, takes care of widows, orphans? The government doesn't do that. That's a 20th century thing. That all comes through private charity. So this would have been the barn. That would have been the house. I would very happily live in their barn. Yeah. Right there.
South
Built
Carolina.
between 1750 and 1760. And today the house and the barn are
Charleston,
completely separate
South
homes.
Carolina.
Gentlemen, I have a sense of deja vu. I think we've met here a few times. Great little carriage stepping stone or mounting block down there. Kind of depends on whether you're riding or driving as to what you want to call it. The one thing everybody wants to know and nobody wants to ask me. So those guys just paid a little over $6 million right before Christmas.
Wow.
So the church is First Scots, 1814.
Presbyterian.
The circular windows are 6-pointed Scottish stars if you want to stare at them long enough. See, the one thing about Charleston, I should say Carolina, is they really are an American city. They're here to make money, is what it is. They're land out of land in Barbados. So that original land grant, they stated that they would recognize as a religion any group of 7 men who would agree on a superior being and meet once a week. Which may turn out to be the most liberal definition of a church ever put on an official piece of paper. So this gentleman who actually moved here out of Rhode Island in 1808, his name was Nathaniel Russell, and he's so modest his initials are right up there in that center balcony. He paid $80,000 to build this house in 1808, guys. Wow. That's without inflation. That's an enormous sum of money when you realize at that point slaves have outnumbered whites for 100 years.
Wow.
To pay $80,000 to build a house in an era of slave labor. Wow. Yeah. Wonderful wrought iron balconies. Those second floor windows are floor to ceiling. Wow. And so the bottom 9 panes folds up behind the top 9 panes. It all folds up in between the brickwork, between the second and third floor, and it's held open by weights that run through the walls.
Yeah.
Oh,
I want those windows, kind of thing. This is one of the 6 museum houses in the city. You can tour the bottom 2 floors for a fee. But as long as those gates are open, you can go through the gardens for free.
Oh,
And once again, I'm big on free things I do.
80,000
This goes
bills.
back there a very long way.
In those days, $80,000 was a lot of money. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He paid
It's
too
one of the
much for
largest landscape gardens in the city.
that. Not 18,000, but 80,000.
It's your own?
Yeah, we're a military base if you can't tell. So we do cargo planes.
But still a lot of money.
C-17s, 130s, 131s.
right up top. You won't see it.
You're gonna see.
Lots of big planes.
Yeah, they replaced the 141s.
Yeah. So we became a Navy base in 1901, and then we lost it in 91? They were closed by 96, that last big round of base closures that they did. So our submarines went to Texas, and all of a sudden we were a giant Air Force base. So obviously I have a lot of people that like planes. Okay, so here's the thing. We have a Tanger outlet mall that's like 20 minutes up the interstate. They sit at the end of the Air Force Base runway. So you can actually go to Tanger and either shop because they've got a glass ceiling, or take any of the restaurants right there and you can watch the planes take off and land over your head.
Wow.
Which is really kind of cool because
Yeah.
when I was little, you know, that was what you did with your grandpa. You stood at the airport and watched the planes take off.
Sure.
And you can't do that these days because, you know, they arrest you.
Yeah.
It's kind of how that works. So it's a great way. We're also a Boeing manufacturer. So if you see something weird going overhead, that could possibly be it. They do Dreamliners here,
Yeah.
kind of thing. So yeah. Wait. Good girl, Ella Sue. Come on, help her pull it. Good girl. That one drives me crazy. That's not even a rectangle. So we're mostly in the 1700s through here. These lots are narrow and they're long. See how far back a lot of these guys go. They're very English. Houses go to the
Wow.
front, keep building to the
Way
back
long.
of the lot.
And they're
Your
close
grandma should
together.
have taught y'all it's one thing to have it and it's another to flaunt it. Okay? If we were more of a New Orleans-y type city, you'd see more gardens out front, that showy kind of thing. Yeah. Just think of the
it's
English
beautiful.
as being a little more conservative.
Beautiful.
In private. Yeah. So the big pretty porches are actually properly called piazzas. Piazzas. It's actually the Italian word for an open or arcaded walkway. And basically it's just fancier in telling people you got a porch. I mean, we call roaches palmetto bugs. And I mean, that's a 3-inch cockroach that flies, right? So,
Sure is.
for a couple hundred years, they always called the buzzards Charleston Eagles because we have money and we don't have buzzards, is the idea. So piazza is the correct term. Invariably south or west, they're blocking the worst of the afternoon sun, heating up the inside of the house is the idea. They would have let the vines grow all the way up the brickwork. It's another way to keep that brick from heating up. Even when you see photographs like in the 1880s and 1890s, the vines are all up the sides of the buildings. You think about it, face it to the prevailing breeze, prevent the direct sun from shining inside. Either paint it a light color, you know, put in a 1.5 foot thick brick wall. If each one of those things gives me a 2-degree temperature difference, there's a big difference between like 85 and 95.
Oh, yeah.
Especially if you're wearing 20 or 30 pounds of clothes.
Yeah.
Every one of you is underdressed, by the way, for the 17 and 1800s.
Wow.
So no ankles, no elbows, ladies. So all the way. 3/4 sleeves and all the way to the floor. That's how it works.
Yeah.
And remember, we have money, so you guys don't get off any better. You're wearing 3-piece suits.
Wow.
You would have never walked down the street with your shirt sleeves rolled up because that would mean like you work for a living. Y'all don't want people to think you actually do that, right? Yeah. So I feel like they were like passing out in the street and they didn't, you know. That's why women swoon. It's 90 degrees outside and you're wearing 40 pounds of clothing kind of thing, yeah. The other thing you can do is to build a 1-room wide house. 3,500 houses in this city are 1-room wide. If you open the windows, the breeze blows through every room of your house. Sounds dumb and it works. The other is floor to ceiling height. So 14 to 18 foot ceilings on most of these guys. And that's the hardest one for me to show you unless I can get someone to go stand in a doorway. So if you look across the street, the smaller building is actually around World War II. It is also over 3,000 square feet. Okay?
Wow.
It is 3 stories tall. The neighbors were built in 1803 and they are 3 stories tall.
Wow. That is sad. See
Yeah.
that? 3 stories.
Yeah, slight difference right there. These guys, early guys don't build on slab kind of thing. All of the houses are built up off the ground under the theory that we get ventilation underneath the house. And for them, it acts like an above ground basement as well. Anything from water storage to coal, take your pick. They would have thought y'all built the house right on the ground was horrible construction. What about just silly things like insects? I mean, why would you build on the ground? They would want to know.
Isn't that amazing though? The difference.
All of the piazzas, Lean, that's actually on purpose, and it's just so the rainwater drips off. Nobody has to sweep the porch. I wouldn't have thought of that. Now, the guys on the right have a gorgeous portico, so I know you're going to look at it. And then the largest dome in the city is on the opposite
Wow,
side.
that's beautiful. Look at that sunroof. Wow, beautiful. Wow. I want to buy that house.
Right there, baby. Right there.
It's so beautiful.
So which one do y'all want, the door or the porch?
I think this
That's beautiful too.
Yeah, the porch usually wins, but there you go. So this house was built by a man by the name of George Walton Williams across the street. He is a banker. He built the house in 1876, costing $240,000. And we're only 10 years out of the Civil War.
Wow.
So some people will tell you he's showing off his money. He would have told you that he was an extremely devout Methodist, a very conservative man, and he is providing hope for the New South.
Wow.
2 marriages, 11 children, 4 lived to see adulthood. The eldest daughter married Patrick Calhoun, so she inherits, and this becomes the Calhoun Mansion. He's a grandson of John C. Calhoun, 2-time vice president. And then when the stock market crashed, they lost everything on both sides. So this became an apartment building. Most of the Calhoun family lands were sold to the state, and they comprise most of Clemson University these days. Yeah. This house was actually condemned in 1972 as unfit for human habitation. So sold at public auction in 1976 for $220,000. That is 40 years and $15 million in renovation later. The owner does live in it. You can tour it. If you've seen The Notebook, that's Allie's summer home.
Oh, wow.
Now, his eldest surviving son is George Jr., who buys the house across the street to remodel it. So this house was actually built in 1770. But he and his wife, turns out they could not have children. And so he added the portico so that she could, quote, have ice cream parties for the orphans Sundays after church.
That was nice.
And so those are affectionately referred to as the ice cream porches.
That's very nice.
So yes. And here's the thing. I don't want the door or the porch. I want the guy. Like really? Ice cream porches for orphans? Yeah, that's a whole new level in what will you do for me? Right there. Very nice stand, ladies. Thank you. Come on, Katie Mae. There you go. He's not going to get you.
What's going on with that flower?
The weird trees are Italian cypress. They grow like that. That tall, skinny thing.
Yeah.
So when you look back behind, you can see all the outbuildings. So kitchens, carriage houses, servants, slave quarters, smokehouse, pantry, weaving, take your pick. The older houses did not build with kitchens, bathrooms, or closets. They haven't invented bathrooms. Closets are 20th century, and it's actually illegal to cook inside your home till the late 1850s. Wow. Too much to threat of fire. So cooking goes in the smaller structure. Cooking and sewing and laundry. Slaves and servants serve at the top, and then you got the big main house next door. How much easier would your floor plan be if you didn't have kitchens, bathrooms, or closets? Yeah. It's also the 3 things that sell houses.
Look at that light.
Kitchens, bathrooms,
Look at the
and
lights.
closets.
Look at that beautiful light.
How about this? I love bacon. I do not roast pigs in my living room.
Oh, look at that
There you
house.
go. Separate building.
Beautiful.
Oh, we need to watch this, Mark.
Well, see, that's the youngest daughter of the man who built the Calhoun Mansion.
Wow, that's beautiful there.
So when she marries, she announced her engagement in 1889 to a New York City silversmith. And now her daddy's a little upset. She is the youngest, and now there's a good chance she'll be moving to New York. And so she woke up on her wedding day, and her daddy had pinned a note to her pillow to tell her she could have the money to build the house of her dreams on the day of her dreams. And this lot is her dowry.
Wow.
It's going to take
So
them
beautiful.
almost 2 years to build, so the groom parents reciprocated by giving them an 18-month all-expense-paid honeymoon. you know, while they built the house.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, that's how we should all start, by the way. Little get to know
Yeah,
your
I
time
got to lots
right
of
there. Yeah. They've been a bed and breakfast since 1949. So they are currently third generation innkeepers at this point. And they go by the name of number 2 Meeting Street, or 2 Meeting Street.
Look
Inn.
at that house.
One of my
Oh,
favorite
boy.
oak trees in the city. What covers the oak is resurrection
look at
fern.
that
That's
oak
why it
tree.
looks fuzzy. Resurrection fern's only green when it rains. So I know most of you are probably building an ark right now at your house. We're in a drought.
Yeah.
So yeah. Ashley River's across from you. James Island is on the far side. The given name for this area is White Point Gardens, but they just called it the Battery. This was a 46-ton fortification wrapping around the edge of the peninsula. Nobody lives out here in the 1700s. In the 1820s, they decided to start building Fort Sumter in the center of the harbor. So by 1825, they're selling this all off for private development. The waterfront's like the newest of the old parts. if
That's
that
a
makes
big
any
cannon,
sense to
Lee.
you whatsoever.
See the big cannon?
So they can't be done are real, they're just not original.
Look, that's beautiful
To
out
give you an
there.
idea, when Irma came through a year and a half ago, you couldn't see the seats on the benches. A little bit of water. Yeah. It was
Wow.
like a small Niagara Falls coming over the wall.
I was in Irma.
Yep.
What year was that?
Irma was 2017. Then. Good girls. Good girls. Come on, baby. I remember on a 10.2-foot search test.
Wow. So, and that was the one that also went up to Wilmington?
Right. So it wasn't even a hurricane when it hit here. It was a tropical storm. Yep. But it is very low tide right now. Wow. At high tide, there's another 6 foot of water on the other side of that wall. So if you follow James Island all the way out to the end and then jump, there's a little island directly opposite you, and that is Fort Sumter. Entirely man-made, sits on a sandbar and 70 tons of imported granite. Nope, that's Castle Pinckney. Go all the way back out here.
Oh, okay.
So that's man-made. That's a natural land formation right there. And yes, Mr. Pinckney did try to build a castle on it, just so you know. So they had Castle Pinckney by 1750. They had forts on the end of James Island. In the 1760s, they built on Sullivan's Island. See where the modern tower is? Just behind that's a lighthouse, which you can actually walk to if you're a lighthouse person. And that's where Fort Moultrie is on Sullivan's Island. You can go through that as well. But the idea is if we could put one in the middle, we're impenetrable. Right? Crossfire? We just weren't counting on the whole from within thing. So we seceded from the Union December 20th of 1860 because Lincoln had been elected. Major Robert Anderson is the ranking federal officer, and so he took everyone still loyal to the federal government, and they took Fort Sumter. His reasoning, they are the most defendable position, but more importantly, quote, they are an island and they do not secede. That's how he's going to word it. It'd never been occupied before, and give you an idea, it's 3.5 miles from here, or, oh, cute puppy, wait. Gotta wait for the puppy to interrupt the war. There we go. Those walls are 25 foot tall from where you are right now.
Wow.
So that gives you a good idea. Then Lincoln took office. So they're going to give those guys 48 hours notice to evacuate. They refuse. The war starts 36 hours later, by the way. So it's all of the outer islands versus Fort Sumter starting April 12th of 1861. The North's going to run out of food, water, and ammunition is how it's going to go. So the South keeps that fort till the end of the war. But here's the catch. Within 3 months, the Union steamships have blockaded Charleston Harbor. The North takes Beaufort, South Carolina, as Union resupply. And then by July of 1863, we're fighting on these outer islands. So the end of James Island, on the opposite side of that is Little Folly and Morris Islands, which is all the movie Glory. It's about the 54th Massachusetts Regiment, the all-black regiment that fights for the North under Robert Gould Shaw. 3 months, it's really bloody, there's like 9,000 deaths, and the North wins. So, for the last 2 years of the war, the Union is there. You know, I really wish my 8th grade teacher had pointed. Would have made a whole lot more sense. than in an abstract sense to go there right there. But here's the difference. In 1861, all guns are smooth bore at that point. So it's haphazard. They got no, just shoot and see where it goes is kind of the idea. But these guys bring with them one of the first rifled cannon of the war. They call it the Swamp Angel. It's a 13.5-inch ball that weighs 110 pounds. And it spirals coming out of the cannon. So just like modern ammunition works, if you learn to throw football and you rotate it off your fingertips, be at greater distance and better accuracy. The first shot off James Island in 1863 landed in the market. That was a 4.7-mile shot.
Wow.
So their new orders, shell the city every 15 minutes.
Ooh.
And they're going to do it for 587 days.
Oh,
now,
boy.
it is the 1800s, so they don't really do a lot of shelling at night. But still, these guys are going to see 14,000 to 18,000 cannonballs hit the ground in the next 2 years. So it's time for these guys to move. There are people living out here through about 1863. But at that point, you're too much of a target. It turns out the houses will still stand, though, because you don't end out wars by like taking out houses of fancy rich people. They're shooting over their heads, is what they're doing. Now, this big pink house was built in the late 1850s. If you've been here before, it spent the last 20 years as a B&B. They paid $6.5 million for it. They are halfway through their 4-year renovation to turn it into a single-family home. Y'all know I watch HGB, so they assure me that you can fix anything in 3 weeks for $1,000.
Yeah, similar.
Yeah, right. That's also apparently like if I hang out at Lowe's,
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
You ever wonder about the people who say no? Like, I don't care how much messy my house is. If you want to come fix everything, come on. The interesting yellow tree is Parkinsonia.
That's almost like the one we got, but it's a different.
I always love these people because they put up things that glitter. And I have it on fairly good authority. They do it just to annoy the neighbors.
America.
They've lived there since World War II. This house has changed hands like 6 times since World War II. So. And the people who own it don't even live in it.
Beautiful, look at that.
Now, General Beauregard is actually going to direct the Battle of Fort Sumter from their piazza as their guest. So this is the oldest house out here at 1825. Alston family crest is still in the top line. Descendants of the family do live on the top floor.
Wow. You want to sit here?
Now, the house that was here was lost during the war, so this is 1880s. The city says it's a Victorian mansion with a medieval European Chinese Chippendale influence. But you can see the water line from Irma. See where the mildew stops?
Yeah, I
That's
see
heading
it.
stairs up.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
Very calm out here. So Castle Pinckney, which is the other one, is actually owned by Sons of the Confederacy. But it's been an active fort since the early 1700s. I can't even tell you what flag is flying because I run out there and change it every now and again. And defend. But it is used as a POW camp during the Civil War. They're going to keep Union POWs out there on the island. Yep. Oh, baby girls.
Civil War prison.
What?
Yep.
Well, the idea is that hopefully they won't shoot over the heads of their own prisoners. It doesn't work, by the way. I mean, that's the idea. So across the street, first of all, this is Water Street. So this is a natural waterway to like 1810, which is why all the houses are at weird angles right there. The house across the street is leaning in like 14 directions at once if you stare at it long enough. Right around 1800. If you have a good real estate agent, that's character, so you pay extra for that. That's how it goes. But I want you to notice the bolts that are running between the walls. Those are earthquake bolts or earthquake rods. August 31st, 1886, little before 10 p.m. We had an earthquake that the U.S. Geological Survey said was between a 7.3 and a 7.6. They say they rode a 2-foot dirt wave, lasting 60 seconds. And they're only 20 years out of the war. I mean, there is no more money. That thing didn't go in our favor. So if you're really worried that the next time you slam your doors, your walls will fall off,
See
drill
all
holes for
those?
your walls
See right there?
and run iron rods through. They're gyp
That's
plates
like
for stabilizing rods.
prevention.
Now, at some point, the people who owned the
So they
house
roast
across
the
the
round
street
circle?
ran an auxiliary rod.
They
So
drill
if
into the
you look over here on the end, if you look down the side of the house as we go by, you can actually see one.
Yeah.
And since we don't normally get to look in the houses, well, there you go.
To the right there.
15 to 20 trimmers a year under a 2.0 is considered normal. So, same fault line responsible for the earthquake in Virginia in 2011. See there, you can see it's definitely looking.
Yeah.
So at the time of the Civil War, this harbor is only 30 foot deep at its deepest point. We are now 52 feet, thanks to dredging and jetties. And then we wonder why it floods. Yeah. So that seawall actually continues underneath the sidewalk on your right-hand side. Up through the 1890s, they are doing commercial vessels, steamships, all the way down to here. It's only cars and trucks that eventually move it further north, is the idea. Yeah. Narrowest street in the city, there's Skulls Alley.
Oh my gosh.
There are houses down there.
Big one. What is across that alley?
So the trees that are blooming are crepe myrtle. I think my favorite color is that lavender color. I don't
Yeah,
see it very
that's so
often.
beautiful.
Those are some big crepe myrtles.
Yeah.
CRAPE. So
We need to chop
white,
the
pink,
other
purple,
one down.
lavender.
and put
They
that
bloom
one.
all summer long. That's the smooth barked trees. They grow in a square foot of soil and they're really hard to kill. So city loves to plant them on the sides of the roads. The other thing the city plants are the palmettos. Neither the crepes or the palmettos have really big root systems, and so they're really good for planting along the streets and sidewalks. There we go, babies. He's got earthquake bolts across the street, but he decided to go fancy, so his washers look like stars. But it is still just attached to an iron rod that runs through the floors. Easy. Good.
Little skinny tree.
Good girls.
Real skinny trees by beside the house.
Ladies.
Look, Jonathan Humane.
And that is affectionately referred to as the Song of the South.
I love the
That's the
house,
cicadas.
the window and the flower. And
I watched one fly into the barn earlier, into the dock. I didn't know if anybody noticed the giant 3-inch insect. I didn't hear screaming, so I assumed not. It's amazing difference the oak trees make, isn't it?
Yeah.
So about 1800 on the right. They're going to take down the original seawall about 1760 and start filling in on this side. Everybody wants their own dock, their own wharf. You fill in the marsh and you push the city out further. You can title marshland in the 1700s. They just call it a low water lot. That's what they do. And so you fill it in and then you fill it in. It's not an ecosystem. It's kind of the difference. It's just getting rid of the snakes, rats, alligators kind of thing. So you know this section of the city as Rainbow Row. And if y'all have ever seen a picture of the city of Charleston, I am going to guarantee you this is what you've seen a picture of. All pre-American Revolution, so all pre-1783. So some of these guys do share common walls, but keep in mind when they were built, the guys across the street weren't there. So their ventilation was coming straight off the water at that point. Notice all the wagon entrances on the bottom floor.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I've never read a book or
The
seen a
wagon
movie.
right there. Wagon
Living
entrance.
across from the docks is
The
the good
horse
side
is the
town.
right there.
So if you're looking for fine liquor, lumber, and women, you are in the correct location, is how it goes. By the 1920s, oh, it's okay. These are all turned into apartments, boarding houses. Susan Pringle Frost and Dorothea Legg are the power duo. They found the Preservation Society. They convinced Mrs. Legg's husband to buy the pink one, and they turned it from a boarding house to a single-family home.
Yeah.
He was the federal
Yeah.
judge. And so they move in, and all of a sudden, this is the most socially acceptable portion of the entire city. And so everybody's buying here and turning those houses back into single-family homes. National Geographic did an article on how Charleston had decided to embrace a tax in order to embrace their future. And man, I wish we'd have kept that. Our current motto is gun fish, not houses. Horrible slogan. By the way, they recently sold off their kitchen, so that's now somebody else's house. The National Geographic's in black and white, so they had to caption their photographs, and these were the rainbow-colored houses of the city of Charleston. So this is a odd street. It's a conglomeration of 1700s and 20th century, kind of all lumped together.
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
Look at the gas lamp.
I always love it that these guys don't have a yard and they don't care.
Wow, it's beautiful, isn't it?
Kind of thing, yeah. Good girl.
Ah, that's beautiful right there.
So the roof has been gone off the top of this warehouse for a very long time. Close to 75 plus years.
That used to be a warehouse.
As denoted by the oak tree. That has been winning for an extremely long time. Oh, the oak tree. Good girl. Good job. We do have a 7-member Board of Architectural Review
Look at it.
appointed by City
They built right
Council.
up there.
When they were formed in the 1930s, their directive said they were to prevent historically significant demolitions. I'm going to tell y'all, in like 1935, if George Washington didn't sleep in your house, you were not significant. But we lose slaves' quarters, the butcher's shop, those little bitty buildings. And so Hurricane Hugo hit the city pretty hard in 1989. It caused $9 billion worth of damage. And so these days, everything this side of the big bridge is legally part of the historic district. Anything on the other side of the bridge over 100 years of age, and that little 7-member board has the legal right to the exterior of any structure that can be seen from a public right-of-way. So basically, they're an HOA on steroids. Inside, you can do what you want. Outside, you need a permit, is how it goes, regardless of age. Good girl. Nice stand. Thank you.
What you said about HOA?
Wow, this street is beautiful too. Look at that.
Good girl.
Dolphin House.
Sorry, I didn't mean to smile. It would be careful glass. It's a recycle bin. I would expect it to have glass.
Don't ship
Charleston County has an awesome recycle program. You don't have to separate. They'll separate. You just dump it in. And they pick up at the curb every week. Oh, ladies. By the way, shoot puppies. You have to be good girls. Can you be good girls? All right. You step it. There you go. So the Customs House and Exchange Building is down here. 1767. Big currency exchange. Taxes paid. It's actually one of only 3 buildings in the United States still standing where they ratified the U.S. Constitution. And these days it's run by the DAR, or Daughters of the American Revolution. The federal government was going to bulldoze it going into World War I, because they weren't using it anymore. And those little ladies got a little upset. So the federal government gave it to them. Yes. You don't mess with the little old ladies in like Ked's tennis shoes. That are, no. Baby girls. Good girl.
Look at the alley there. Look at the alley
So we
everywhere.
passed the cobblestones earlier. We're up on that end.
Yeah, we were here. We were here while.
Oh, ladies. Oh, ladies. Good girls. Two step. We're not running to the barn. That's not going to happen. Two step. So the brick buildings on the left-hand side are the Dock Street Theater. 1809. Originally built as the Planters Hotel. So if you happen to like Planters Punch, that's where it comes from. So by the Great Depression, it's really not a hotel you take any woman you respect to. So they're going to give it to the WPA who'll gut it and turn it into a stage theater. If they're not doing anything, you're free to go inside and look around. It's awesome architecture.
Dark Street Theater.
And then across the street, this is the only surviving French Huguenot congregation in the Western Hemisphere. So Puritans out of England, Lutherans out of Germany, Huguenots out of France. They're actually given this gift, the land as a gift in 1687. France became Catholic. To be Protestant was punishable by death. There are a couple thousand French Huguenot families who moved to England, and England went, hey, you know, there's colonies, right? It's a running joke among tour guides, but if you had sailed into Charleston Harbor in the 1st century, the only thing they would have been concerned about is, are you Catholic? It's the ABC rule. Anybody but the Catholics. St. Augustine is older than we are. They're Catholic, and so we don't do that. Doesn't help us, or doesn't help them, I guess I should say, that the Spanish in St. Augustine spread the news through the Indians that any slave who escapes the Carolinas and Georgia and is willing to become Catholic will be considered a free person in Florida. So now we really don't like them, is kind of the idea. So we officially do not recognize the Catholic faith till the adoption of the U.S. Constitution, and there's not a bishop that lives this side of Virginia till 1822, which is actually pretty recent. That's your Bible Belt. Basically, we're the hardcore Protestant line protecting y'all from the invasion of Florida, is the idea. On the other hand, the largest Jewish population in the colonies lives in Charleston, South Carolina, because they're not Catholic. That's basically it. Got it? This little building is 1840s. Among the Huguenots' main beliefs are that you do not need a priest or a minister to be an intermediary between you and God, which means organized religion isn't actually necessary. So through the 1800s, most of them become Episcopalians, and that's only because voting was held on Easter Sunday at the Episcopal Church. And so generally, if you were not Episcopalian, you couldn't vote. No law said you couldn't vote, but they only allowed congregation members to vote. Yeah.
I never know that.
That's beautiful.
All right, baby girl.
I love this.
These crepe marbles are like outdoing themselves.
Oh, look at this tree. It's so
This is
beautiful.
St. Philip's. These are the guys we saw from a distance.
Yeah, we need to
They
take the
did
other one
rebuild
out.
in 1835. That's a hell of a fire. So the city asked them to move the church back, straighten out the road. They told the city that their church was more important than the street was ever going to be. So we drive around the church. Is how it works. Currently registered as Anglican, but they are the original congregation. Graveyards beside the church.
Wow, look at that door. Look at that door, how big.
Across the street. Y'all, we're really only like 3 blocks from the barn. I always recommend
graveyard.
walking back up here.
Some over here, Joe.
Walk, please. Walk.
I saw
Nobody
ghosts.
on the hills. Easy. Where you going, Phyllis? I'm going home. Very nice stand, ladies. What these horses don't realize is I've raised my children. I've got more patience than they do. Stop it. Now, Little Bitty and Bo's is the coffee shop on your left. They originated in Wilmington. They're now up to 3 stores, but they were CNN's Heroes of the Year in 2017. 95% of their workforce is intellectually or developmentally disabled adults.
Wow.
There you go, girls.
French Quarter.
Yeah.
Was that the hotel?
Yeah.
All right, so we're headed back down into the market. I don't even know if you remember an hour ago, but the market starts off as a natural waterway. So this is Governor's Creek, sometimes called Daniels Creek. Easy. After that original market burned down in 1788, the families that backed up onto this land hadn't been able to use it. It was mostly a swamp. So they gave the land to the city, to forever be a public open-air market. They really did not foresee grocery stores and shopping malls in their wildest imaginations. Said, give them 20 years to fill it in, another decade to get the buildings built. So we're right between 1807 and 18. And live meat, produce, seafood, dairy, all in the same place, all at the same time. It's a consolidated system. It's supposed to be modern. Think Faneuil Hall in Boston kind of thing. A lot of people do call it the slave market. I would politely ask that you change your punctuation. It is a slave's market. Do y'all have a German deli where you live? Or a French bakery? This was a slave's market, is the idea. It is the slaves who do both the buying and the selling 6 days a week, is how it works. Should be surprising in a city like Charleston. I'm not going to tell you we didn't sell slaves. I already told you the exact opposite. We did not sell slaves here, is the answer. Right now, the current wait list to be a full-time market vendor is actually 5 years. Handicrafts and souvenirs. So these guys still have to bring their stuff in every day. They take their stuff home every night, and they're open every day but Christmas Day. Most folks I know have a hard enough time getting up and going to work. So yeah, if you had to pack it all up, bring it all in, pack it all up, take it all home. That's one of those escape room things.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. When you did that, it's an escape room. Oh. And then when they did the public, you could
There we go, baby. There we go. Good job. Oh my goodness. Y'all know it's not supposed to snow here? Like it did, but it's not supposed to. It snowed in 1989. Snowed last year. So 6.5 inches. Woo! We closed school for 4 days, as a matter of fact. So what that also means though is they don't build for snow. And so we do a lot of flat top roofs. If you're looking for nightlife or you're looking for a sunset, you need to be looking up.
Color change. Leaf.
But this time has a sort of green and
So these are normal flowers for summer. But fall season, all the trees change color.
Here's our littlest team. That's Bud and Buck.
Wow.
Don't tell Buck he's little. He doesn't like that. No, they don't. No, they don't. I think like every team we have, like one does all the work. Clearly when you go to work, you feel like you do everything and your counterpart walks like 6 inches behind you claiming they're working. Yeah. So, how about this? Y'all ever heard the term slacker? Someone's a slacker? She's currently a slacker. Slack. She's got slack in her traces. She is not pulling any weight.
She's smart. She walked backward.
Yep. Easy, baby girl. Good girl. They feel like her sister's like, look, we got 200 yards. Oh,
Green.
So they come back to the barn at the end of every tour. They're going to get their diapers done. They're going to get their temperature checked. They do not hold thermometers under their tongues.
No.
Yeah. Easiest way to make sure your animal's not overheated, take their temperature and make sure they're not overheated. It's amazing how well that actually works.
Yeah.
Good girl.
Hello. Look at her.
When she jumped forward earlier, it's because I tapped her with the whip because she wasn't cold. She's a big goosey, apparently. Let's face it, if I was riding them, I'd squeeze them with my calves. Yeah. My legs are not that long, so. right, lady. All right, Katie May. This is you, baby girl. All right, come on.
They said, look here. They know.
Oh, it's like a mule parade. Hit and run. Actually, it's run and hit.
Yeah.
And then Aladdin, that's got to be the biggest mule on the planet. And her partner is Jasmine.
He looks like
Alrighty,
a
guys.
move.
We're going to step off on your right-hand side. You've been sitting for an hour, so not going to be a graceful way to do that. And I'm going to meet you all at the back here. So if you have any questions, I really am happy to answer them.
Hey, he's a move. Move. Look at he's a beautiful one. Yeah. Watch this, let him move. Hey, he's a move. Move. Give her a tip, Lee. Yeah.
Who's on the 9:30 at like 87 people race right now? You're like,
Watch out.
That was awesome. Thank you. Yeah, her name is Chicken.
Thank you very much. You really
Thank you.
give the children a lot of education on.
Well, then they didn't fall asleep, so I'm good.
No, that was interesting.
And that's chicken.
Oh, look at here. And then chicken?
Her name's
That
Chicken.
didn't look like chicken to me.
She has a brother named Nugget, and he's
Really?
around here too. Yeah.
That's beautiful though. I love all the wild cat and feral cats. We take them in.
Yeah. She's not very cooperative at taking pictures.
Yeah,
I
really?
tried to get her picture for you. She doesn't cooperate. Come here, chicken.
Her face will look beautiful.
Come here, chicken. She don't want to come out.
Come on, come on. Right there. Look, nobody like a smart donkey. Smart. Horse. Yeah, okay. When you gonna paint it? Let's go for Chick-fil-A. No, I still gotta get the book.
Can I get the water towel? Really nice.
Oh, you're 100. How are you 100? I guess. Gee, if it makes it easier, red, white, and blue will work for the next 3 days. I owe you $100 on the next 6.
Look at the spaceship.
I'll be back. Be back.
Alright, thank you. Look how big that box is, Daniel. Look at that big box. Would you eat that one pizza?
Cooking right now.
Charleston police. Thank you. Ooh. Ugh, hot. Get the orange. Golly, cold. Hot.
Okay. See me?
Yeah.
Who wants to try it again? Pretty cold, huh?
No.
I'm allergic to horse.
Definitely not.
There should be a thing in front of our door.
Yep, they cleaned up.
Oh, good.
Wow. It's super clean.
Look. You put my towel. Oh my gosh. I didn't bring any of my stuffed animals inside.
I know you. Oh my god.
Okay.
They did my